Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Whitetail Rendezvous is pleased to announce a partnership with GoHunt.com. Who's GoHunt.com? Well, if you're a DIY hunter, you need the information at GoHunt.com/insider. Why? Because it provides 4,200 profiles, every unit, every species, and every season. Furthermore, they give in-depth analysis, interactive maps, unit access, and seasonal trends. Draws are very important, and they give you the most accurate information in the business. All this is available when you go to GoHunt.com/insider. Make sure you use promo code WR when you join Insider. You'll get a $50 gift card for GoHunt.com Gear Shop. Remember, when you become a member of GoHunt.com/insider, you're going to get a $50 gift card to Go Hunt Gear Shop. What's in the gear shop? The best gear that you can buy for hunting the West. All in all, if you're hunting out West in 2018, GoHunt.com/insider is where you need to be to get all the research information. When you use promo code WR, Whitetail Rendezvous receives a small commission from GoHunt.com. Hey, folks, I'm heading out to Iowa today. I'm going to meet with a good friend, Brandon Dahms. Now, Brandon and his crew have started a couple of years ago, Trophy Bucks of Iowa. How long have you been running Trophy Bucks of Iowa, Brandon?
So it got started, it had been 2 years ago this past November. So about 2.5 years it's been going on.
So for the people that don't know anything about Iowa hunting deer, shame on you. But Trophy Bucks of Iowa is, it's on social media. They were just featured at the Iowa Deer Classic. So, Brandon, why don't you bring my listeners who don't know anything about Trophy Bucks of Iowa, why don't you bring them up to speed?
Yeah, so Trophy Bucks of Iowa, Eric Klein actually started it 2.5 years ago, him and his brother Mark. And basically it started out as a social media page on Facebook page. It's just some friends to kind of share their harvests and kind of a brag board on, hey, guys, check out, the deer that I harvested. And it became so relatable to the average person that it has just exploded over the last few years on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. And the whole idea and premise of Trophy Bucks of Iowa has kind of evolved to is, even though it's called Trophy Bucks of Iowa, it's really not about the inches of antler. It's about the average hunter and what a trophy means to them. And a lot of the cases, it could be a father taking their daughter or son out and shooting a doe, and it's the very first hunting experience they had. And that memory and that doe is a trophy. So people will send in their harvest and pictures, and it doesn't have to be a harvest. It can just be a father-son hanging out in the woods or mushroom hunting or doing anything outdoors, and that has a really big meaning to them. And they'll send it to us, and we'll post it on our social media page, and it'll kind of share it with the world. I mean, we reach hundreds of thousands of people a week now. I think our busiest week ever was almost 5 million people reached. So
wow.
So I think the real relatable thing is, on TV, it gets to be where you can see people always shooting, 180-inch to 200-inch deer. And the grand scheme of things, even though we do live in Iowa and it is Trophy Bucks of Iowa, that's just not the norm. I mean, we are very fortunate to be able to harvest and have the opportunity to harvest mature, really large deer all over the state. But it's just not about that. And I think the average person that follows Trophy Bucks of Iowa can appreciate that and really enjoys seeing a lot of youth hunters getting out for the first time that they may not have. But by seeing our page and seeing other kids, or there's even grown adults that have never gotten into hunting that really enjoy seeing their friend or neighbor get into it. And, hey, maybe that's something I'd like to try. So it's been fun to watch it grow.
Now, do you guys have your own TV show?
We do not have our own TV show right now. It's strictly social media. We have our own apparel, our shirts, hats, and everything, and we have a Facebook shop. And you can also get our stuff in Shields. And then there's a few other avenues to get it, but no TV show. We're currently filming our hunts, and we have a phenomenal editor, Dakin Wilcoxon. He's been doing all our our filming and editing, and so we have lots and lots of footage. But right now, it's really not about the four of us that run Trophy Bucks of Iowa, even though we are featured a lot on it. It's more about the average hunter and sharing their harvest.
Now, where can a guy or a gal see the video, on YouTube or the Facebook channel?
Yeah, so we do have a YouTube channel, but that's pretty much in its infancy stage. Right now, we post all of our videos to our Facebook page. We're still in the middle of editing a lot of them, and we're probably going to save a lot of that for the off season. I mean, that middle of summer, even late spring, and then late summer, right when you're getting kind of the fever of hunting seasons around the corner. That's probably when we're going to release our videos of our hunting seasons in the past to kind of bridge the gap from one season to the next.
Now, what type of responses do you get from people about Trophy Bucks of Iowa? Like I'm saying, Jimmy Jones writes, thanks so much for posting my picture. Or Susie says, gee, it was exciting to see myself. Are you getting that type of feedback? Or
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we get, being a hunting page, you'll get both the extreme positives and the extreme negatives. And, but we get what was really nice at the Iowa Deer Classic, there was a lot of parents that came up, and they have Facebook now because of Trophy Bucks of Iowa and how much their kids talked about it. They have one father was talking about his daughter, 10 years old. Not a lot of 10-year-old girls that are really into hunting, so this was really exciting to see. But he said the first thing that his daughter asks him every day is, "What's new on Trophy Bucks of Iowa Facebook page, Dad?" So they pull up the page and they scroll through it, and she gets to see it. And he sent in a picture of her. I think she caught a really nice bass in a farm pond on a Mickey Mouse pool. So we shared that, and it made her day to see herself on Trophy Bucks of Iowa and see how many people it reached.
yeah, and that's positive enforcement. That's for sure. Now, do you guys have sponsors help supporting your business?
Yep. So we like to call them partners. We've partnered with quite a few people this year, and as we've grown, so has our involvement with other companies. Land Pros, Scent Crusher, Antler King, and Stealth Cam are some of our top ones. We just recently partnered with Muddy. So in a lot of our videos, you'll see us featuring Muddy outdoor products such as the bowl blinds and their tree stands. All my food plots are Antler King food plots. And we've incorporated a lot of our partners. We like to incorporate products that we use on an everyday basis. So when we're doing our videos, and we like to do a lot of informative videos on hinge cutting or food plots or mock scrapes, and we like to feature our partners to be products that the everyday person can use and have success with. So not only is it really relatable that we're out hunting just like everybody else does, and some not always being successful, but we're also using products that everybody else can use and kind of show them how.
That's great because as you grow, you want to partner up. At least my idea is you want to partner up with one product that you're going to use in the field, and it's just not, hey, I'm a partner of X, Y, and Z, and no, I never use their product.
Yeah, the last thing we want to do is feature a product that we're really not going to use. If our name's affiliated with it, and a lot of people take what we have to say very seriously, and we want that information to be accurate and informative. And if I'm not going to use it personally, then we're not going to partner with them because there's a lot of information out there that a lot of people just don't understand or know, and they want to. And if it works, we want to get it out there to help them. For instance, mock scrapes. I know I got many, many, many Snapchats and videos thanking us on just doing a simple mock scrape video of what a mock scrape means and why we do them and where we place them. And it's neat to see the average person that would have never done a mock scrape will send a video or picture of their mock scrape, and they were able to harvest a buck, create, in the mock scrape that they created only because of the video we shared. So that's always exciting to see.
Now, where would that video be? I know I got listeners saying, oh, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that. So where could they go and find it?
It would be on our Facebook page, and we'll do throwbacks, even if we've already posted it before. As things get relevant, we do a lot of our videos are kind of in time as you should be doing it. So probably a month or so ago, we did a video on getting ready for shed hunting and what I do to get shed hunting to help me become successful and the steps I do. And it was kind of relevant for right then. So here pretty soon, we'll be doing a video on frost seeding Right now, it's perfect time in Iowa to frost seed some clover on food plots. So a lot of the videos that we post, even if it's not a new one that may have been something we posted last year, we'll post it just so it's relevant in the moment. So the average hunter can follow our Facebook page and they know, okay, now's the time to start creating mock scrapes or the steps you need to do on when to plant brassica food plots or hinge cutting trees, things like that.
Thanks for that. And since you mentioned shed hunting, some parts of the country are pretty much over shed hunting. Some parts of the country can't get through the snow to shed hunt, and other parts are in between. It's too darn muddy. So let's talk about shed hunting and really what it is and what it's turned into.
Yeah, shed hunting over the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years has just exploded in Iowa. I mean, there was times in the years past that you'd be able to walk a property, and it may be not be a property you actually deer hunt, but you have access to shed hunt it, and you'd find multiple-year-old sheds that nobody really cared to pick them up, and now that's just not heard of anymore. I catch myself. I love shed hunting so much that I'll actually pass a buck that might have been on my hit list because once I see it in person, I think, man, I'd really like to get those sheds later. And my personal goal is I'd like to have multiple years of a set of sheds on a deer and then harvest the deer. So my current number one hit list buck, I've only found one ever shed off him in 5 years of history. So that ain't going to happen for him. But yeah, shed hunting has just absolutely exploded. It's good and bad. It's getting harder to find good places that you're not the first one there. My really good properties that I deer hunt down in southern Iowa, I'm the only one that has permission to be there. And unfortunately, when we went back last weekend, all my trail cameras were messed with. A couple of them had been deleted or memory cards gone and no sheds. And I know this is a spot that we find them every year, food plots. I put alfalfa out. Alfalfa is kind of a hidden secret gem for the state of Iowa as far as shed hunting goes because it kind of keeps all the deer pretty close by. And so trespassing is really becoming a problem in Iowa, and a good shed spot's kind of unheard of now because of how popular it's gotten. So yeah, it's neat to see though. Trophy Bucks of Iowa getting all the pictures sent in. I've gotten a lot of pictures myself, Eric, Ryan, and Mark. We've gotten a lot of pictures sent in of young kids and little boys and girls with their parents excited to find their first ever antler. So that kind of makes it worth it as well.
You guys use dogs at all for shed hunting?
Yep. And actually, that's kind of a new partner as well. Eric Klein has a dog, Harper, and it went through, it's called Antler Dogs. Roger runs Antler Dogs, and that's all he does is train. I personally don't use a shed dog. My dog has found sheds, and I've trained him for it, but he's kind of getting older, so I don't take him that much. But, yeah, Eric has a trained shed dog. It went through training. It was about 3 months training, I want to say 6 weeks or 8 weeks it might have been. But, yeah, Roger at Antler Dogs does a phenomenal job, and it's becoming extremely popular here in Iowa for antler dogs. He was at the Iowa Deer Classic and did quite a few seminars on training shed dogs.
And that's great. And, I think about it, one, you're out and about, then you get your dog out and about, and you're not shooting pheasants or quail or whatever, but you're just, spending time with your dog. He's bringing you back sheds.
Yeah, actually, I think the day Eric picked his dog Harper up from training, they swung by their property on the way back to Des Moines, and Harper found 3 sheds all by herself within a matter of the first hour looking. So I think he was pretty excited to have Harper on board now. And it kind of bridges the gap as well, when it always is kind of depressing here in Iowa on this year on January 10th when deer season ended. You always think, oh, is it October yet? We have such a long period before October 1st and we get it again. And now it's kind of a year-long process. It's deer season ends, then you prep for shed season, and you have the time to look for antlers. And then here pretty soon it's going to be food plot time. And then once food plot season ends, then you have almost bow season. So it's kind of a year-long process now versus in the years past, some people would just shotgun hunt or hunt a few weeks a year, and now it's a 12-month ordeal.
Yeah, it's a 365 whitetail hunters, and everybody can't do that, I understand, but more and more people are doing it vicariously or taking as much time as they can during the winter to get sheds, because what I found out is, a shed will tell you, okay, that buck was there. I had it on camera. Here's one shed. and then you can age class him. And probably if he drops his sheds, he's still alive. Probably.
Yeah, it's a great way to take inventory of what deer you have for next year. It's really exciting. I know a few of the deer that I find sheds for, they winter where I can hunt them, but they don't spend early October and November during the rut where they shed. So they kind of have two running areas. I'm hoping as these deer get older, their home range shrinks quite a bit, which can be the case, and I'll be able to get them once they're mature.
Let's talk about that secret clover, overseeding clover on some land and keeping bucks around, so that will drop their shed within close proximity of the clover.
Yeah. So it's a really great time to pattern bucks this time of the year once deer season ends, and it's a really tough time for the deer. It's extremely cold. Food can be hard to find, and so anything you can do to help the deer get through the season. I mean, they're smart animals. They know if you can place. I'll go buy a bunch of pure alfalfa bales, small square bales, and then I'll also get some Antler King protein. I think Attract and Fuel was the one I used this year. And what I'll do is I'll know where the deer bed on the properties, and I'll know the travel area where they normally go to try to find food. And somewhere in between there, I'll put my trail camera up, some alfalfa bales, usually near one of my existing food plots because they're already patterned to go there, and some of this protein and attracted fuel. And I'd say a majority of the time, I'll know the day those deer shed because they're on camera literally every day. That time of the year they eat and sleep. That's pretty much what they do every day. And then once I see that they shed on camera, I'll know to go in there and start shed hunting, and I'll just basically circumference my alfalfa. A lot of the sheds I found this year, I think so far I'm in the mid 30s. I'm almost up to 40 sheds for the year, and I'd say a large majority of them have been within sight of my alfalfa bales and Antler King that I've put out.
How many acres do you have?
So I've fortunate enough to hunt multiple properties. I think the largest one's 160 acres, smallest one's right at 60. But I'd say of the 40 antlers, or 35 antlers, almost 20 of them had found at the 60-acre piece, just because I had so much food there for them, and all the food in the surrounding properties has kind of been picked over or was snow covered. So they all kind of congregated and hugged on to the property I was at, and I left it alone until they showed up on camera and shed. And so I'm kind of really hoping that correlates to them sticking around this spring, summer, and fall, and then I can have a good chance of hunting some of them.
Well, that's wishful thinking, but
but that's a hunter's mindset right there. Is
yeah, that's wishful thinking because they will move just like bucks from August to September. Where'd they go?
Oh, they're habits.
Yeah.
So most of the bucks, they have where they want to be on what. It's amazing. They don't have a calendar, but I'll get a lot of the bucks show up on a property the same day every year to the day. And it just baffles me on how they don't have a calendar to know what day it is, but they have their pattern, and it amazes me every year.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with food sources, and just the changes which they realize. That if we were observant, we'd realize the same changes in the temperatures and terrain and sun and take everything.
Oh, absolutely. I think food source and also. There's a direct correlation with pressure on the property, and for instance, the farmer on one of the properties I like to hunt, he really likes to. He's on my cameras all the time. He loves walking his property, and I'd say some of the best weeks I've ever had hunting there is when he was on vacation and out of state for a few weeks, and I really try to stay away from the properties that I'll have hitless bucks on until I have them patterned on camera, or I know there's a few hot does in the area to where no matter what I do, there's going to be the bucks in the area. And so food source and pressure are probably the top two things and really both of them can be manipulated by us.
True. And one thing that I've been hearing from a bunch of people this winter is they're going to up to 3 day hunt. That's it. They'll hunt that one buck, the one period of time, and that's it, because they know any more pressure, he's gone anyway.
Yep.
And they roll the dice and say, the wind's right, everything's right, barometer, time of rut, estrus. It might even be pre-rut, just depends. but they're finding their success is going up, at least seeing the deer. Now, seeing and getting, as you know, is difficult.
Yeah, it's there's my top hit list buck. I truly think that if I have a chance of getting at him this fall, most of the time that we think of archery hunting in Iowa, you think of that magical Halloween to middle of November, our peak rut. And my top hit list buck, he somehow just becomes a ghost during that time frame. But every year, the first week or 10 days of October, he's very visible. So I know my time frame to get him is going to be that early pre-harvest part of the season. And I am going to try to have this year's the year that I'm going to go after him. I've passed him for many years now. And his name's Curly. And so this fall, the Curly, I'm going to have pretty much a setup for no matter what the wind direction is. And that first, every day I can possibly get in there early October, I will be at that property hunting him. But I'll definitely make sure that my accessibility and my situation that I'm sitting in won't ruin the spot.
So listeners, take some notes on what Brandon just said. You know, one, he knows the deer's there because he's seen them numerous years, and he's going to have a setup that allows him access and then hunting time or availability to close the deal on that buck. And that doesn't happen by chance, and that's the point I want to make. People today are more and more serious. I know there's some really serious deer hunters out there, but as we look at other people, women, youth, our friends who don't hunt, they can't hunt at the same rate, the same amplitude, or the same attitude. They just don't have them in it. 'Cause how can I stay in the stand, 8 hours, 10 hours, or why would I go in the stand and it's 18 below zero or whatever, And
Yeah,
my thought on that. Go ahead.
well, and it's taking somebody new there that doesn't have the mindset. I just love being out there, and I can sit all day and enjoy it. If I see something, I see something. If I don't, I still may try to move to a place that I will see something. But when you're taking a child or a person that's new to hunting, I'll always try to, because I take a lot of friends and their kids hunting, and I take a lot of friends who just got into hunting. I'll take them on their first hunts, and I always try to set them up on areas where I know it'll be a high traffic spot and they'll have lots of activity. They might not shoot a deer or harvest anything, but they'll always have something to see. And I think that's key on youth. I don't have any kids, but I know that if you take a kid hunting for the first time and they spend 5 hours straight in a blind and they can't make a single peep and don't see anything, they're probably not going to think hunting's the most fun thing to do out there. So sometimes it's key to keep the hunt short and kind of make it fun. If they're a little noisy and they blow the hunt, just make sure it's fun for them, and it'll keep them coming back, and they'll evolve over time to probably get to the mindset that I'm at, to where you're keeping track of all that situational things to make the hunt the highest probability.
And talking about the youth, there's a lot of media flair about the youth and high schools and guns and what's right, what's wrong, who's right, who's wrong. And we're not going to get into that, except that if every person that's listening to the show, me included, just took a kid out and into the outdoors, forget the guns or the bows or fishing rod, just take them for a walk, take them shed hunting, take them and show them what the outdoors are, because so many millions of kids, they're completely clueless. So what somebody says on TV or YouTube or Snapchat or Instagram must be true, and they have absolutely no basis. Now, there are some kids that come from hunting families that understand it, and okay, but the multitudes really don't. So this guy's, take on it. It's our responsibility to at least open up the outdoors to kids. Your thoughts?
I think it can be very contagious to people that aren't familiar with the outdoors. Like you said, it doesn't have to be hunting. Just take them outside on the shed hunt, or in the spring, take them mushroom hunting, or even if it's just fishing. There's so many kids nowadays that on a nice sunny day don't have school. What do? They spend it indoors, not socially interacting. And I think it only takes one time of taking a child or youth, or even if it's just a friend that doesn't have any outdoor experience, and take them out there and let them see how much fun it is. And I've taken other people outside that have experienced deer hunting for the first time, and they're just blown away at. They say they don't even have to take a weapon; they can just take a camera out and just enjoy seeing nature and something that you would never see from your bedroom or couch or anything like that. So I agree with you. I think just opening up the outdoors could become contagious, and pretty soon you'll see more and more kids out there playing outside like we used to.
Yep. Leave at 7 o'clock, have breakfast, leave, and come back maybe with a trout, maybe with some
Yeah,
some worm, maybe with a frog.
Yeah, you have the light pole rule. You have to be home when the light street lights come on.
or
That's just I can't think I've heard that in a long time though.
or burdocks. I mean, we used to get in these thickets with burdocks, and you have to comb them off your clothes and your hair.
Yeah. I sat on the outside. I sat on the back deck for many hours picking off burrs from our clothes that we just. My mom would just sit and shake her head at what did you guys do? But we had a great time doing it.
Yeah, you did, and I, I think that. Well, I don't think I know those times are lost. I mean, they really
Yeah,
are. And
I
me
agree.
jumping on my
Aside from small farming communities that you see the kids out there playing because they, that's what they do. That's their entertainment. I know a lot of my friends, their kids, they just don't get in the outdoors like we used to, and it's unfortunate. But and I don't see the trend changing. But it like you said, it's on us to try to change that.
yeah. Well, let's move over to your fall away hunt uh, this past season. You shot a buck, but was it really a buck? I don't know the story on that. We had a technical difficulty, and I spliced in. This is the second part of Brendan Dahms' Trophy Bucks of Iowa, and Brandon shot a really nice buck, sort of. He's got the story behind it, but Brandon, tell us about that buck that you chased all year and finally put on the ground, and then he became not a buck. What's
Yeah,
that all about?
so we had ran cameras on this entire property all year, and it's a pretty long property, and he was on every single camera every single week. So we knew he was there. It was his home base, and Trophy Bucks of Iowa partner Ryan Boynton and I both had hunting rights at this place, so we were both after him, and we had put a lot of time and effort into this buck. Passed a lot of really nice bucks because they weren't the Big Ten. We nicknamed this buck the Big Ten because he's a super wide, perfectly clean 10-point buck. And I had a lot of encounters with him during bow season. Saw him every single time I was in the stand. But the weekend in Iowa that it was 18 below zero outside, my brother and I, for some reason, chose to go out and hunt. Kind of for me, my lifestyle. If I'm not working and I don't have any family plans, I'll be out hunting. And my brother was in town from out of he lives down in the Quad Cities, which is a couple hours from Des Moines, 3 hours, and we decided to just hunt from the ground. I didn't take my heater bodysuit or anything with me, so we put as many layers on as we could, and we just sat on this fence line that kind of observed this picked bean field. On one side's picked beans, the other side was CRP, and the wind was kind of coming from the CRP to us. And we sat there for a few hours, saw a lot of deer, but nothing was mature. It was a lot of yearlings, a lot of nice basket rack bucks, and nothing that my brother was wanting to put his tag on, and nothing I obviously wasn't going to shoot anything. My freezer was pretty much full of does I had harvested, and I had my sight set on this one buck, and it was either going to be that buck or bust. And we were really cold with it being in the 30s with below 30 degrees with wind chill, 18 actual temp. And it wasn't dark yet. We didn't intend on being done yet, but we couldn't handle the cold anymore. So we stood up to walk back to the cabin and kind of do a spot and stalk to the cabin. And if we saw anything, a mature doe or a nice buck, my brother could shoot. And as we stood up 100 yards away, my brother says, "There's the Big Ten looking right at us." And he had us pegged. And the wind was from him to me, and he didn't quite understand what we were. And he proceeded to walk right to us. And once he got to 40 yards, he had stopped, and we were in a dead stare down. My brother and I are in the wide open because we had started to walk back, and I put my scope on his shoulder. He was kind of quartering to pretty heavy, so I put it right on his shoulder and pulled the trigger, and it dry fired or misfired, and my heart sank. And the buck kind of did a quick little nervous drop, but stood there still staring at us. And I kind of whispered to my brother who had his muzzleloader with him. I said, "Hey, do you have a shot?" And he says, "I'm not shooting that deer." And so I pull the hammer back, and miraculously it fires on the second time, and I drill him, and he wasn't a couple steps into it, and his antlers fell off his head. So yeah, It's a very. I mean, I've seen pictures of it. I think I've even seen a video of it. Not a common thing, and I certainly wasn't expecting it. It's a first for me. And then say I'll probably remember that hunt over most of my hunts I've ever had now, just because of that. So I got a good picture of the both antlers in the blood trail. So in Iowa, if you shoot a buck and it loses his antlers legally, you can use your antlerless tag on the deer. And I could have kept my statewide tag. I actually it had his antlers when I shot him, so I put my statewide tag on him, and I ended the muzzleload season for me. I was pretty happy to do that.
That's amazing. Now, the property, you said it was 198 acres, but real skinny.
Yeah, it's 190 acres, but it hunts a lot more than that because it's not a big block of property as far as, a lot of big farms in Iowa are kind of big, perfectly square or large rectangles. This is kind of a drawn out 190 acres, and it has everything from heavy big timber to CRP to kind of a real thick cedar hillside. So it kind of has all the environments, multiple ponds. I mean, it's an ideal property for having mature bucks like this on there. And he obviously liked the property because he was on both sides of it every week, traveling up and down, and he didn't seem to travel far from the property. So I'm very fortunate to have access to this property, and I know we have some deer that we're already looking forward to for next year there.
Now, how many sets do you have on that property?
How many fence?
Yeah, sets. Stand sets?
Yeah. Let's see. There's probably 10 to 12 sets on that property. A few of them are within sight of each other, strictly for playing the wind purposes. And it depends on what time of the year it is. There's certain times of the year I really like hunting field edges where I can have a large vantage point because, especially during rut, I kind of use a buck's aggressiveness to my advantage to where instead of hunting deep in the timber, which a lot of people do and have phenomenal success hunting deep in the timber during rut, I like those field edges to where I can see the deer and I'll either use a decoy if the time's right or grunt or rattle them into me and I can get them to cover a lot of property in a hurry. This was late season, so I was, if I didn't have my brother with me, I would have gone to my tree stand that was over top of this picked bean field because it seems like late season in Iowa, especially during muzzleloader, evenings is kind of the main hunted time frame of the day, and it's because every night on clockwork they'll usually be out in the fields. Standing beans or picked beans this year was the ticket. I know years past there's been picked cornfields is the way to go, but this year they like to travel through the CRP to get to that bean field, and I happen to be in the path between him and the food.
So a little work goes into, just how you're going to hunt a property. And you got to understand how the property lays. And so many times we say, oh, this looks like a good place. And you don't look at the property strategically to make your stand sets.
Yeah, my one set that I'm going to hunt early season this coming fall is my number one hit list buck. I nickname him Curly, and I found my first shed off him in 5. He'll be 6.5 this fall. I've known since he was a spike. He's a beautiful buck now, but his first year he was a spike, and a spike, kind of snaked up, and that's why I nicknamed him Curly. And he's had the same snaky shaped S brow tine ever since then. But you have to have an idea on what wind directions you're going to want to hunt that stand from certain time frames. So I know that buck Curly, he kind of disappears middle of October. So I know my time frame to harvest him, if he follows suit with the last 4 years that I've seen him, is going to be that early October. And so I'm going to have sets for every single instance. If I have a southwest wind, I know I'm going to hunt what stand. If I have a wind out of the north, I'm going to have another set. So that way I have a good idea. A buck that's mature, it doesn't take much to spook them and turn them nocturnal. And a lot of people, when they go to an area, they'll just think, oh, I'm going to put a stand right in that tree and I'm going to hunt it no matter what. Well, one, is your wind right? Scent Crusher has helped out immensely this past 2 years. I've used it it uses ozone and eliminates my odor. So I haven't been busted near as much over the years, but a lot of people don't take into effect what area their wind, their scent's traveling, and also accessibility. If I have to travel by where the deer are hanging out on my way to the stand and I blow them out of the area, I'm not going to have a high probability of hunting those deer again that same day because I've already blown them out. So when I find a really good spot on the property that I want to hunt, I kind of figure out what ways I can. It's not always a tree stand. Maybe if I want to hunt a certain wind, I have to have a ground blind instead of a tree stand. But so you'll try to make the sets properly and also accessibility. And sometimes I got to go way out of my way to get to that spot so I can leave the deer alone. But if you're going to put that much time and effort, and not a cheap hobby sometimes. So if you're going to have all your time and all that effort and all that money into deer hunting, you want the highest probability of success rate you can have. And a big part of that is the deer never know you're there. And bumping them and wind or scent can be the two main factors that you can spook them.
Let's switch it up and talk about Iowa and specifically public land, DIY, and the deer that people are taking are eye openers. And this is public land.
Yeah, Iowa gets, for an in-resident, public land kind of gets overlooked for a lot of people because it has the notion that it's extremely overhunted. And there are some properties that when the sun comes up, they see hunters as far as they can look. And the same instance for some public areas out west. I know you have some areas in Colorado that I'm sure you look and you'll see orange everywhere during mule deer or elk season. But I know, just like out west in Iowa, if you're willing to put time and effort into doing your own due diligence and research and finding the proper areas in public hunting, there is some absolute gems in the state of Iowa for public hunting. I had a good friend come from out east, Ryan. He's part of our team, TBI, and he waited many years. I mean, it's not just buying the tag and drawing the tag, but you have to travel to Iowa. You have to have accommodations, and it's a lot of time commitment. And when people come from the out of state of Iowa, they have high expectations that, they're not used to some of the deer that we have around here, and they want to leave having either a great experience of at least seeing a big deer or having the opportunity to harvest one. And Ryan came, do it yourself, hunted on public land, hung his own sets, and ended up walking out with a 180 class whitetail, which is bigger than anything I've ever killed. I mean, you can see a couple of my deer on the wall. I've been fortunate, but his first time in Iowa, and he put a lot of time and effort. It wasn't by luck. He scouted. He came before season or had a lot of intel with people on where to go and studied maps. Where he went, it took a lot of work to backpack his stands in and hang them, and he put in the time and effort. You can be successful.
So, folks, even though it sounds a daunting task of waiting every 4 years, there's some great outfitters in Iowa, great places to go, but you still have to draw the tag. So don't negate the job that the Iowa DNR has done to provide an opportunity. And I guess that's all we can hope for.
Yeah, the DNR, especially. So I'm familiar with the DNR down in southern Iowa, and they have a big job on their hands because unfortunately, you get with big deer comes a lot of people trying to take them in the wrong ways. And aside from the poaching aspect of it, the DNR's done a phenomenal job. Our deer herd is healthy. We have a certain allocated number of tags that are allowed to be harvested from each county, and they're accessing new properties for not only in-state residents, but non-residents. Once they draw a tag, there is absolute tons of acres of property that are set up for public hunting to bring in non-residents and encourage people that don't have I'm very fortunate to have a lot of access to private properties, but there's a lot of people that love to hunt that don't have access to private properties that are even Iowa residents. And the DNR has done an absolute phenomenal job of having some great pieces of public property that gives any person a very high success rate of harvesting a great Iowa whitetail.
And with that, let's wrap the show up with you telling people how to get a hold of Trophy Bucks of Iowa.
Yeah, so you can go onto our Facebook page, Trophy Bucks of Iowa. You can send us a message. We love hearing from everybody. We get hundreds and hundreds of messages, and whether it's them sharing their photo or wanting to see a certain video, if you want to learn something about shed hunting or TSI work or food plots, please send a request. We'd love to create the video and do it. We're on Instagram, Iowa Trophy Bucks, and we're also on Snapchat, Trophy Bucks of IA. So it's not Trophy Bucks of Iowa on Snapchat. It's Trophy Bucks of and then IA for the letters of Iowa.
Well, Brandon, as always, it's just a pleasure hanging with you, and your hospitality is wonderful. And I look forward to if I don't buzz by your place this fall, I sure hope to be there at Iowa Deer Classic next spring.
Well, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure being back on, and I look forward to you coming back to Iowa and staying here and coming to the Iowa Deer Classic. It wasn't the same this year without you.
We're going to travel to Iowa, southwestern Iowa to be exact, and meet up with Jordan Howell. What's so neat about Jordan Howell? Why is he on Whitetail Rendezvous? Well, in 2017, he took 3 bucks over 150. He'll explain how he did that as a resident of Iowa. Some of you already know. But anyway, Jordan's going to talk about the multiple uses of trail cameras, hunting open pastures, hunting small tracts of land, and small creek bottoms. All that wrapped up because Jordan took 3 bucks last year under Iowa law that scored over 150, took 2 with a bow and 1 with a muzzleloader. So all of that rolled up to one exciting episode about the 3 bucks by Jordan Howell in 2017.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.